Hello, I'm Michael Houston, CEO, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Terry Houston, founder of Houston Consulting Group and Associates. And on today's edition of our Business Empowerment Series, we are so excited to have a very special guest with us, and that's none other than executive chef and founder of Winston's Catering, and that's Chef Keshaun Winston. How you doing this evening, Keshaun?
Proud of yourself. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, fantastic.
Great. We're doing great, and I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to jump right in. We are so, first of all, I just want to thank you publicly for that delicious, delicious Mother's Day spread you prepared, and thank you for hiring Chef Winston.
My pleasure.
I mean, it was so amazing, Chef Winston. It was the chicken parmesan and the roasted broccoli. I mean, it was just amazing, and it was stacked and layered.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was chicken and cheese and sauce and more chicken and cheese and sauce. Thank you so much. It was delicious.
You're absolutely welcome. I'm glad I could do that for you guys. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Yes,
it was delicious.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely.
So we just wanted to have you on this business empowerment series because every time I've ever tasted anything that you've made, because you cater a lot of the food at some of the real estate events that I've attended, some of the classes I've taught, and the food is always just amazing. I mean, just amazing. So we wanted to get you on here because we wanted to hear more about your story.
Right.
Yeah, we wanted to hear more about your story. And I know that you have a very, very, a background that is just, people will not believe where you've come. In fact, you have a cookbook, I believe, titled From Homeless to the White House. Is that what it's
titled? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing. So tell us a little bit of your story.
Well, back in, say 1999 to 2000, I was, the way I got into the culinary field, into the food business, I was homeless for 2 years. And it was not even it wasn't even my niche to even my passion to even get into food, but because I got tired of being hungry and living in the street, I decided, hey, I need to find a job somewhere. Somebody's going to hire me. And at the time, I only knew retail, and I found myself, applying for several jobs, and I just happened to look up on the computer one day while I was in the library, and there was positions opening up for dishwashers, which I didn't have experience in working in the kitchen, but I was like, hey, nothing beats nothing to try. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah. So long story short, I went on and did an application, and I got called. It was funny because I only had a little track phone that I had a couple of minutes on, and I wasn't trying to waste it on anyone. Just emergencies. And I got called by the Four Seasons Hotel, and they called me in it was a bad time, but it was a good time because I had no assets, no way to get to this interview after the guy didn't offer me an interview to come down as a dishwasher. But I found my way down there. I got into the thick of things, and I got so drawn, while I was doing it, I got so drawn into the guys, making the food and preparing the food and the whole camaraderie of the kitchen that I said, this is where I need to be. It was like a calling right there on the spot. Like, this is that I got to join in, in with these guys. So, long story short, I had worked there that night, and the gentleman who was the manager offered me the job there, which was great. But at the same time, I knew I was going back to the park where I had stayed, where I had slept, but I was still vibrant. I was still, looking for better. I knew that, I wasn't out there alone. I always believed that God had something better in store for me anyway, my situation. So I just hung in there. So I had worked there for a couple of months, still living in the park. And one day, somebody just happened to call out. It always happens when somebody call out.
Right, I know that's right.
All it takes is one day. So somebody,
that's right.
Right, and it was a lot going on. And the manager had asked me, he was like, hey, Keshaun, man, I know you might not know a lot what's going on here, but if you can help these guys do anything just to help get these tickets down, because the restaurant was packed, if you know the Four Seasons, very diverse. It was soccer season. A lot of people was in there, and they were swamped. And I just looked at them, and I was like, Chuck, I can do all of this, dude. Just put me wherever you need me to be. I can do all of this. And it was like the whole kitchen stopped and looked at me like, who is this guy who's a dishwasher? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, y'all have no clue, because I see something way beyond this. And all I need is a shot, and that was my shot. So I jumped in there, first line of defense. They put me on saute. And that night, the kitchen manager, Chuck, came back to me. He was like, hey, Keshaun, hey, man, I love the way you move. I love your energy, your urgency. I would love to have you, tomorrow. I don't want you to wash any more of these dishes. I need you. I really need you to get on this line and show these guys how it's supposed to be done. And I'll anything else that you don't know, I'll train you on it myself. But I need you to show these guys how this line is supposed to be done and teach them how to move with a sense of urgency. They'll follow your lead. If I put you in a certain spot, they don't have a choice but to follow your lead. And that was saute, because it's the first line of defense. This is how your plate starts. And from that point on, it was like, I was lost. To make it, like quick and clean, I was never hungry again.
Wow.
I was never hungry again.
Wow.
I think that was the turning point for me, and I knew that this was my God-given purpose, and I just homed that. And from there, I just went from restaurant to restaurant. I was learning stuff that you're supposed to know in culinary school. I was like knife skills and stuff like that. And this is way before YouTube.
Wow.
So everything was on the spot training. It was watching.
Awesome.
My schooling and my teaching came from just watching and absorbing everything like a sponge. And a lot of times, a lot of people tell you work in places, everybody don't want to show you everything because they think you're going to take their job. But they didn't tell me. I was just watching. My grandma always told me to pay attention. Always pay attention. I just watch, And I've been around from restaurant to restaurant. And I ended up landing a job at Andrews Air Force Base.
Okay.
That's kind of present in the present time. A couple of years ago, I go back about almost 6 or 7 years ago. Okay. And I ran the smokehouse over there on the golf course. And working there, I ran it. I had like probably about 10 to 12 staff, and everything was pretty much served a la carte. You would come in, the soldiers would come in with their families. We would serve them just like you would go to a Subway,
Okay.
But we also had a commercial style kitchen also too for big parties. And this one particular day, I got, this was like this was probably the height of everything in my culinary career. I don't know.
But yeah,
wait,
I know.
Going to this part, but I think the pinnacle of, I'm not gonna say the pinnacle because I think I got so much further to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I was working at Andrews Air Force Base, and I was getting ready. We just had a wedding the day before, and I had to go in and help my team clean up from the wedding that we had. And one of my sous chefs came in, and he was like, "Chef, I think the president is coming in to eat today." Now, I already knew that President Obama and Vice President Biden, they play golf every third Saturday. Right. I really don't work Saturdays, but I knew that wedding was crazy, and we couldn't clean up everything, in a timely fashion the night before. So I really wasn't supposed to be there. But I'm still in uniform, still in my chef coat, and I'm looking at my sous chef. I was like, dude, I really don't have time for jokes.
I know that's right.
I like that. Neither one of them never comes into the restaurant. Wow. But it was during the summer, and you got those hot, humid days, and then that misty rain, and then it stopped. Then the humidity just goes up. It's like it's exhausting, and that's the type of day it was, and it was throwing off his game. So I'm as he's talking to me, I'm in my office, and my window faced the kitchen, so I can see everybody that's working in the kitchen. The Secret Service man is walking in front of my window. He comes into the office and he's like messing with his earpiece, and he was like, "I'm getting ready to talk to the chef. We can get ready to set the perimeters." I was like, I'm paused. I don't know what's happening.
I know that's right. What did I do? You know?
I'm done.
You about to run?
I'm like, I don't want no trouble with you guys.
I know that's right.
I'm saying, y'all set the perimeter.
So hold on there.
Yeah. So he comes in and he was like, "Hey, chef, hey man, president coming in now. Granted, I still don't know what president you're talking about. Are we talking about president or are we talking about the vice president? Now I don't know how happy or excited to be. You know what I mean? Both of them would have been fine. You know.
Right.
I knew my level of excitement would have been way beyond. You know. So I'm like, he's talking to me, and I'm paused, and I'm like, yeah, I okay. He was like, listen, I don't know what you guys did, those brisket sandwiches and all that stuff you bring out for the guys out there, man. Can you do something? Can you duplicate that? Because I think they're coming in. Matter of fact, I know he's coming in to eat if you guys have a dining room. And I was like, who's coming in? Who are you talking about? He's not giving me enough information, you know? So he finally said, President Obama, man, I need you to, he was like, chop, I need you to act quick. What are you going to do? And I'm having an out-of-body experience. Look, I'm looking for my phone.
I know that's right.
Somebody to videotape everything that's going down. This need to be done.
Right,
so,
absolutely.
So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I'm looking at my staff. Everybody's getting ready to go home for the day. You know, for the morning crew getting ready to go home. In that instant, I told it, like I had to get myself together and act like I've done this before, right? So I say to him, I said, you know what? I said, yeah, me and my team, we can put something together for you guys. He said,
I know that's right.
Back. So people are clocking out. You see people getting their things. I turned into Gordon Ramsay in 2.5 seconds. I was pointing. I said, you, don't move. I need you back on so-and-so. They was like, what you mean we going home? I said, the president is coming in.
Right, I know that's
they
right.
looking at me like, what? They had the same mentality I had. What president?
Right.
You're the president.
Right. Yeah, okay.
I said, when he told me President Obama was coming in, man, immediately everything stopped. Like, it was like the whole room just paused. Wow. I said, now, what are y'all going to do? When I say they were like soldiers, I mean, I never seen them like, because we used to having a radio playing in there, they're having a good time. We still getting the job done. Right. That was my team. It was no radio. Everybody was straight on it. Like, I mean, I'd never seen them like this, right? And what was so great about it, the wedding that we had the day before, I had so much food left over. I had 26 cases of jumbo lump crab meat. I mean, I was giving him everything he could. I don't care.
Right.
I got time. I'm about to show off now. They should
have
never let me.
That's what I'm talking
about. I love it.
Yeah, so I had to go out. I'm not touching any food. All my guys know what to do. I'm not touching any food because now I have to go out and greet him. I have to go out and see him. So because remember, I told you guys everything is served a la carte. So you have there's a glass. You know that everybody's using this glass now because of COVID, so you can't see. So we have the glass set up, and there's a picture frame across from where we carve the ham and the brisket. Mm-hmm. I hear him, but I don't see him. I'm shaking. I'm shaking really, really bad.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I hear him, and he's clowning somebody about how bad their golf game is. So now, as his voice getting closer, I see a silhouette from that picture frame, and I'm like, dude, I said, somebody got to hold me. I don't know what's about to happen. And so one of the older ladies I call my grandmother one of the seasoned people. I like to say seasoned people. She had been there 30 years cooking in that kitchen. She rubbed my back and said, baby, you'll be okay. Mm-hmm. It was like he was nothing to her. Like she didn't see so many presidents. She was like, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? He comes in front of me and I'm looking at him and I'm like, this is really him. And I'm like, get yourself together. I'm talking to myself. Right. And he's like, hey, heard you guys did the brisket sandwich. Hey, one of the best brisket sandwiches I ever had in my life. What else can you whip up for me? Me and my team were ready to eat. And he shook my hand. It was like the seal. I felt real presidential.
I know that's right. You had to straighten up a little bit.
Oh,
he was, if I can explain, him, it was like your favorite uncle.
Mm.
Whenever there's a family event, you looking for Uncle Rick to be there because you know Uncle Rick gonna bring the party. He gonna have a good time and he gonna give you some money before he leaves.
That's right.
Like that, right? So I'm ecstatic. I'm congratulating my team that put everything together. I said, thank you guys, man. It was really dope because they all got to shake his hand. He went into the Roosevelt room right across from us. And I'm getting ready to leave. Like, this is the highlight. This is what I'm thinking.
That's right.
I'm getting ready to leave. I'm like, yes, I'm calling up everybody. Y'all ain't not going to believe this. President Obama here, and we didn't fed him and all this type of stuff. As I'm
taking selfies and doing all
as I'm leaving, the same Secret Service man comes, and he was like, are you getting ready to leave, Chef? And I said, I was. He said, oh, wait, if you give me just about 10, 15 minutes, man, Mr. President wants to talk to you. And I'm looking at, I needed him to tell me that 3 times.
No, that's right.
I'm stuck now. I'm like, the first thing I said, my whole team.
Right.
He was like, no, I just want to talk to you.
Wow.
I guess he wants to thank you personally, for stepping in because he heard that you was off today and he was able to make something happen. And I was like, sure. Okay, I'll talk to him. I promise you, it was so calm. It was different. I walk into the room and he's on his cell phone. He has on some Nike shorts, a plain white V-neck T-shirt, a hat, and flip-flops and no socks. And I'm like, this got to be the coolest president in the world. I've never seen like this. And it brung my nervousness down.
Right.
In an instant. And he was like, have a seat. I'll be right with you. He was finishing up his call. And when he got off the phone, he told me how great the food was. And he wanted to know, what did I do to that brisket sandwich? He didn't even know that we put our briskets in 24 hours prior, right? Okay. I accidentally hit the dial and gave it 28 hours. Okay. The brisket was so tender, you could take the bottom of your fork and it would fall through. I said, we got to give this to the president. He got to eat this today. That was my thing. I didn't know how good it was going to be, but I knew it was amazing. I ain't never made nothing like this before.
I know that's right.
Amazing. So I was like, Mr. President, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. He was like, man, me and my whole team, we enjoyed it. He was like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And the same story I shared with y'all, the same story I shared with him. And he was like, first thing he said to me, he was like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. I don't care what anybody tell you. Outside of this, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Wow. And he said to me, he said, I would, and I, what did he say? Oh, he said, and I'll tell you something better. I would love to have someone like you on my team. I was like, I have Secret Service.
Right. Lord right there.
My thinking was all over the place. I'm like,
right.
Military, sir. No, I'm not doing that. So he was like, I would, if you can duplicate this, I would love to have you on my staff, man. I don't know what you need to do. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Maybe you can think about it. Not sure if you're married. Don't see a ring. Hey, give me an answer.
Think about it.
And in an instant, it was nothing to be said. I said, Mr. President, today will be my last day. I am your man.
I know that's right.
And he told me, he said, that's what I'm talking about. Somebody know what they want and they quick on their feet. I like answers like that. And next thing I know, my clearance, they were sending me to the annex or whatever they call it to get a whole new clearance.
Oh,
that
I'm sure.
It changed. Like I was taking, like I'm trying to get out of that chef coat for that place I worked at so quick. I didn't call anybody. It was hard to hold it.
Right.
But I went, it was like a celebratory thing for me. I went straight to Pentagon City. And I think I spent $1,000 on myself just because I wanted to. It was like,
wow. Let's celebrate. I know that's right.
It was like, it was something, it was like, I needed to celebrate me. But first I get honor to God first. That was the first thing because I went to the bathroom. I cried for like 30 minutes before I left. I couldn't believe my shirt was soaked. I'm talking about I cried the way I felt like I was getting a fever. It was, you know what I mean? But all of that, my whole testimony has been because God has had his hand on me.
That's right. We see that. And I tell you, I mean, we're just on the edge of our seats. Just give us more. This it's so inspirational,
powerful.
so powerful. And then I know for those who are listening, I hope you caught some key points here. I know I did, and you know, just listening to your story. First of all, congratulations from
Thank you.
to the White House under the administration of President Obama. That is phenomenal. And just in listening to your story,
awesome.
It reminded me of a movie I could watch over and over and over again that was so touching, and that's The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah,
Man.
And I recommend everybody, if you haven't seen that movie, and you'll understand what I'm talking about and get a great appreciation for this chef Keshaun's story, because that gentleman, Will Smith, played the character. He went from homeless. And the thing about it is, the thing I appreciate about your story, it's entrepreneurship in its rawest form. You know, I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 plus years full time. We're entrepreneurs. And the thing is, you know, you weren't waiting for a handout. You weren't waiting for a financial loan to go to business school or you know, making excuses. But you just kind of recognized an opportunity. You took it upon yourself to study what was going on around you while you were washing dishes, just like in Pursuit of Happiness. How you studied to be a financial, you know, advisor or a stockbroker, you know, with no experience, living on the streets, and got that break just like you did. And he went on to, you know, build a multi-million-dollar financial investment portfolio company. And I know we'll let you tell the rest of your story, but it just I was just thinking about that movie as I was listening to you, and just we say congratulations. It's so awesome.
Thanks. And that movie, it's funny you bring that up, because it's so touching. It's so moving to me also. And I kind of correlate, if you ever seen what's the movie with Denzel Washington where Antoine Fisher.
Okay.
So I correlate that his life growing up, going into Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah. So a lot of the things that he went through in that was kind of mimicked, you know, what I was going through. But now, fast forward now, I decided to branch out after my time with the Obamas, and I wanted to start my own thing. I definitely didn't want to work for anybody. That was like the key, I think, because
true entrepreneur.
That's that's
my heart. I understand.
I just got, and I told, it was funny, because I told my brother one day, and I said, dude, I don't think I was built to punch a clock. He was like, what you mean? I said, it's just something about somebody having something over me to say what I can't do. I don't want to work this amount of time for you to tell me now you give me time for my kids or my family, and I don't want your 401k. Let me do something else. You see what I mean? I just felt like I just felt that way. I just felt that way. I really didn't want to punch a clock, and I decided one day. I lived in an apartment complex. Somebody had smelled the food coming from my apartment, and I had been cooking. I was still working in restaurants, and it was a young guy. He was a young guy, and he was like, dude, I don't know what you're cooking in there, but it smells good. You frying fish? And I was like, yeah, for the family. He was like, dude, I don't know what kind of fish you frying, but it's smelling this place up. So I said, for real? I said, man, you want to taste? And because I knew him, he lived in my building. I said, you want to taste? Let me tell you something. He said, you can sell this all through this complex.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'll get the business for you. I promise you.
Absolutely.
Just make me a plate. I had $20. I lived off of St. Barnabas Road, and the Giant was across from my apartment complex. I lived in some condos. I walked. I got some noodles, some cheese, some heavy cream, all the stuff, macaroni cheese, some cabbage for my fried cabbage, and the more whiting fish. I made
that's $20.
Yeah, and the guys who hung out on the corner, right? So the guys who hung out in the corner doing their mischievous things,
right?
They were my main customers. I gave one plate, and the dude said, "Man, if you can make this all day, we buy all day. I'll take your plate over to the beauty salon over there. I'll take it to the barbershop. I promise you." Before the night ended, I was walking in the house for $500 some. It kept duplicating because they was paying me before I could even get the food. I had to invest that day. I'm buying deep fries. I'm at all types of stores because it was mass production now. And it just took off. And one of the guys, God rest his soul, one of the guys said to me, he was like, dude, you could cater. I didn't know nothing about catering. I heard it in different restaurants, they cater. He was like, man, you can sell all this. Somebody going to buy it. You can cater. Mm-hmm. It started off slow. because I didn't know what I was doing. I had nobody to teach me. So I had to learn. I had to read and kind of follow people. And one day I got my big break. It was my sister's wedding. And it was not a wedding, her baby shower. I'm sorry. It was a baby shower. And after every event, there's always some stragglers hanging around and stuff like that. They trying to see how much food they can take home.
Right.
So we had it
away in the trunk.
Right. We had it at a hall, and the way the kitchen was similar to this, the wall was cut out, but you could see into the hall, but you couldn't see behind the wall where the dishes were, and I was helping doing the dishes. And I overheard these women talking on the other side of the wall about my macaroni and cheese. And in my thinking, I'm like, I think my macaroni and cheese is good, but the way they was putting it, like it was extravagant, like it was the best they ever had. These are older women,
they know mac and cheese now.
You know what I mean? No, And I was like, so as I'm getting ready to leave and pack up, they leave. I don't even see them. I just heard them. I was like, man, I'm glad they like my food, but I'm still not thinking catering. I'm not thinking none of that. I just wanted to help my sister out because the girl who was going to cook the food bailed out, and my sister got a house full of food she don't know what to do with. So I was like, hey, we're going to get it done. I help you out. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm helping her with her gifts and stuff. And this lady comes up to me, and she was I think she's from Mobile, Alabama, I believe. And she came up to me. She said, "Baby, I heard you did the food." And I said, "Yes, ma'am. I just want to help my sister. I'm real humble. I'm just thinking, yeah, I did the food. I helped her out." She said, "I just want to let you know it blessed my soul. I don't know what you put in that food. I don't know what you did with them greens." And the way she talked, she didn't, because she told me she traveled. She didn't been around the world. She didn't and I'm looking at her. I'm like, this lady really like this food. She said, "Let me tell you something. If catering is not what you're doing, this is what you need to be doing. This is what you should be doing." And that day forward, I stopped everything. It was nothing you could tell me. I spent last on every chafing dish. I was making up makeup cards. I really had no money to be doing nothing. All my money.
But you found a way. You were resourceful.
Yeah,
so what I was doing, I was selling them dinners out my apartment so I could finance my new catering venture.
I know
that's how it took off. It was one event after another.
That's just so awesome. Your story is just so impeccable. And I mean, there's so many things. First of all, you're an awesome storyteller.
I know that's
so I could just sit here and listen to your stories all day.
I know, tell me more.
I mean, you're such an awesome storyteller. So one of the things we're going to want to do is get you back on here to talk more about, taking the dream and actually making it come to fruition. Like you've done now, because I know you do some things like you do the catering projects, you catered my Mother's Day meal, you cater other projects, but you also do the meal preps and things like that.
I'm also an area manager for rehabilitation center in Gainesville. So I run all the dietary departments. I oversee everything. So I'm over top of the nutritionists and all that stuff. So I just took on that new venture. So,
but with that means if someone is trying to eat a vegan diet or keto diet or vegetarian or something, you could help prepare their meals accordingly. Well, that's so awesome. We're gonna definitely have your information.
Absolutely.
On the post, and we're gonna have to get you back on.
I know.
That's just this
part two.
Yeah, we're gonna do part two. This is part one.
Pursuit of Happiness part two.
But we thank you so much, Chef Keshaun. I mean,
thank you guys. Thank you.
Your story is just so compelling.
It really is.
From homeless to the White House, and it's a true story, And so you really inspired us, and inspiring us to just keep going and keep pushing.
Appreciate it.
And I like that you
guys inspired me.
All right, well, awesome.
We like to be helpers of one another. Well, thank you, and definitely we'll be putting in some more orders in the future. We definitely recommend, again, for those of you listening, check out his information. We got his information here, but you will definitely be saying, hey, that food blessed my soul if you take that first bite. Because it sure did ours.
Yeah, and I know that there are times, and we can add some of this in the post, but I know that you go live so that we can cook along. You have another show that you're doing with other chefs. So we'll put all of your social media handles in this with this video. So
I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Chef.
Thank you, Chef. Okay, have a great day.
You too.